On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like, oh my gosh, it's so important. How important would it be to try and be able to do the splits?
You want me to scale that? I I mean, it's very relative. I would throw back at you as why would the listener want to do the splits? And if they have a good reason to, then the scale or number becomes very high, right?
Well, it
If it's
looks
just
really
normal,
cool.
yeah, normal
Not
population,
a
they
good
ask
reason.
me, I mean, yeah, I would call that pretty low, a 2 or a 3. However, again, it can still be just like touching your toes, a good correlation of showing me some good mobility or flexibility, right? Which can carry over to a lot of other movements that are very healthy for us to do. And here's the thing. I mean, I always want people to challenge themselves to do hard things physically. That's hard for them, you know. And if doing the splits is something they want to challenge themselves to, it's very possible. I know plenty of people, even in their 60s, who can do splits. I'm just not going to sit here and say, well, it's very important that everyone needs to be able to do that
Hmm.
unless it is a specific goal for them.
So there's not like some crazy like advantage, like, oh, you're going to increase all this other mobility if you focus on the
No,
splits.
no, and here's why. Because the splits is a pretty passive motion, if you will. So if I were to try to get
Mm,
into the splits, it's a passive stretch, right? What carryover does that have with my muscle activation to be able to load, right? So that person could fall in a huge category of they have great mobility, but do they have the muscle activation ability to load it? We don't know unless we test that, but there's not going to be a good correlation of I have that, okay, can I still activate well? And I know I'm
gotcha.
taking that full circle to this 3-step process that we talked about, but it's not necessarily they're going to have an advantage. They may have an advantage because they've already have fixed the mobility part, so they just
Hmm.
have to work on muscle activation. But just because you have a range of motion doesn't mean you know how to use it.